What's going on?
Yeah,
Not much. How you doing this morning?
I'm good.
I'm freezing. I am in the forest of the Pacific Northwest, if you will. Um, Cleveland, give it an actual name. But my fingertips are quite frozen, I say. How's my audio with you?
Yeah,
Good. You're good. You know, when you got to do an on the road setup, you're never sure how it's going to play out. So, and then you have to see the trees and the nature. Apparently, there was an elk out here yesterday. I missed them, but hey, I'm glad I missed them. Personally speaking, but I would have liked to kind of see it from a window. You know,
okay.
what you smoking on? Let's post that in. What up, chat? What up, YouTube? What up, Twitch? Let's see
Everybody.
what you smoking on. What y'all on right now? What up, SMC, Blue House Grow, Oma, pin comment. Let us know in the comments what you smoking on, please, and thank you. Welcome to Sesh Sundays. I'm Lotta Locks. Lotta Locks. Man, that took me back. OG intro to podcasting. I'm Lotta with the Bakersman Collective. This is D. Anthony Goes, the best brand ambassador in the game. And, we are here on this Sunday to catch up with you, community, to let you know what we smoking on with. For me is some Nine Lions by Sub X. Oh my gosh, that strain has me hooked. And some lychee by Cookies, which in the state of Washington is grown by House of Cultivar. So I
What's that
think,
Blue House, bro?
yeah. What up, folks? Oh shit! I dropped the weed all in my jacket.
Oh, yeah.
Oh no. Um, And what's good? Was at work. Wish I was smoking. Yeah. Yeah, I'm grateful on this kind of chilly fall approaching Sunday. Everybody trying to deny like fall's here. Hello?
It's here.
It's here.
Yeah,
Jesus.
it's past September 21st or 22nd. That
Mm.
was the time for the switch. If you missed it, it's here. Okay? I'm not mad about it either because I'm tired of being hot. What up, Dabmar?
Yeah, hash burger and some sugar factory from Thunder Chief. Fashionably Nate. What's going on, Nathan? How you doing this morning? So yeah, I you recent no, we talked about your performance last week. So what have you gotten into this week,
Well,
bro?
you know what? I don't think we talked about the performance. Me and you
Mm.
talked about it, but I only just tell everybody I had a new song dropping.
Oh,
That
okay,
was
okay,
it.
okay.
Because we had that just that it flowed so well last week. There was no need for me to even interrupt the great conversation we were having to even talk
Right.
about that because that conversation was wonderful.
Shout out to the Bud Brunch out of Washington D.C. Stop through if
And
y'all
we are
don't follow
coming,
them. You
okay?
should. Yeah, we're gonna tap in with you, and we have another great conversation for you today. To be honest, we just giving you our intro. Soon we will have Caitlein Ryan of the Cannabis Alliance up here chatting with us, and so can't wait.
Well,
Uh,
before she gets here, then though, I can
yeah,
tell
let me
y'all
know.
I dropped a new song last week for the ones who don't know called "Not in the Mood." Everybody's loving it. Everybody's gonna be in the mood sometimes, so go play it if you haven't heard it, especially when you're not in the mood. But I
Right.
went to Portland to go do a little press run. I went to PDX Radio to go see my guy Rappy. I
Mm.
always got to go there to the radio station in Portland when I drop a new song. I got an interview done. That should be dropping soon. And then
Mm-hmm.
I had a performance in Vancouver, Washington. I've only done a song or two out there before, so I've never done a show out there. So it was kind of cool to be on a show and perform for a whole crowd and different people I don't even know at all, period. You know what I mean? And I kind of wowed everybody because they've interviewed me, they've heard my music, but they've never seen me perform. So
Mm.
it was a great performance. I feel like seeing some of the other performers that, not being cocky, but I feel like the nobody knew anybody as a performer. So I feel like now that I saw that, the lineups have been changed a little bit because I feel like I kind of made it hard for everybody who went after me.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah,
Got it.
especially the person who went after me. I like this person, they're very talented, but their performance, they sit there with their hand in their pocket with their shoulders up singing with
Ah,
sunglasses on, the whole time, and they are a wonderful singer with a beautiful voice. But I went first.
oh,
And
got
everybody
you.
went after me. So 30 minutes of me on the stage, I'm moving, dancing, and everybody was like, they were shocked. Even the camera people were like, "Whoa!" I was like, "Yeah,
Mm,
whoa."
yeah, because like I've got years in the game, and years of the game
Years,
experience does help you.
yes.
It
So I
does
saw
in
that.
stage performance.
And I was like, dang, these people are good, but we need to move it. And I can tell the nervousness, I can see the jitters. And I'm like, I do this all the time. So I'm like, I don't know how often other people perform and stuff, but I saw that. Like maybe sometimes when people throw shows, you might want to check in with the artist or look at past shows to see how you might want to do that order too. Because
Right.
the order of the show can be messed up if you have somebody great that you didn't know was great going first, and then everybody else might not be so great performing wise. The show will do a decline.
Absolutely. That's anything, podcasting or whatever. There needs to be a rhythm and a flow to what you do. And so in musical performance, we tend to at least seat the heaviest hitting performer in the end and or the
Hmm.
middle,
Hmm.
so that like it brings the crowd up at a certain point. You
Yeah.
are controlling the energy in the room, you know? So that's what it is to be a producer and kind of put on things.
So I feel like I should have went more in the middle, which
Yeah.
is fine. But I'm like, no matter what, like just for the show flow, but for the Anthony Goes flow, me going first is perfectly fine because I got in there, did what I had to do, and moved around. And
Right.
everybody's gonna remember that because I couldn't even leave the room or leave the stage without each person, the camera, the DJ, the lights person was like, "Whoa,
Okay, you better flex
not
on
kidding."
them.
So I was like, "This is
Excellent.
cool."
I love to hear it. Go to a new state. Rock on. Rock on. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm
Well,
saying?
technically, no, it was Washington State. I
It
had to
is
keep
Washington.
remembering that too.
Well, okay, cool. True, true. But it's like I feel like sometimes going down to Vancouver is like a different world.
It is. It is. It is. It's a
Hmm.
whole different world. It's its own thing. Like it is. It really is.
When you travel out the sweet spot of the pocket of Seattle and Washington State, ooh, it
Yeah.
gets it gets it gets different out here, from political landscape to just like hell, the what the environment looks like, the climate could be,
When
all
I
of
was walking
that.
out there, I couldn't tell us because we kind of got there at the same time ish. And when I got there, we were walking to get to the building, but we had to walk around like a block. And I was like, it looks so weird out here. He's like, yeah. I'm like, it doesn't look like a city. It looks more like a town. He's like, yeah, this is like a town city. I'm like, yeah, it's a small town. Like it looks the same from when they first built it to me. 'Cause
Mm,
everything is still brick buildings and stuff. You can tell those buildings have been there.
got you, got
Everything's brick.
you. You said
I
everything.
was except for the new stuff. You can tell because it looks more today, but everything else was brick, 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 all just been sitting there. I'm like, man, you can tell that these have been here since they built them, which
Wow.
is cool because they have history still.
Right, right. I'm trying to make shift a crutch for a joint. You know what I'm saying? While I'm in these
Well, in the
tunes.
future, when I see you again, I got a whole thing full of those.
You got the glass ones? Oh,
I
pardon my
think I have
noise.
those too. I think I have those too. To be honest with you, I got them from Palooza, I think, and I think they're in here. Let me see what it is. Oh, found something. These are no, these are the black and mild wood tips at the end. But I do have some crutches too. I do because I have the one. Who did you used to work for? The company. I got the ones
Eye
that
cancer?
no, the one before that.
Oh, it's a dispensary.
I
The
think so,
bulb?
or the weed
Oh.
company. But I have the ones that the pack that opens and
Oh,
it has
Binsk.
yeah, it has two crutches and then it magnetically closes. I have that one.
Mm-hmm.
I
Got
think
you,
I've
got you.
had it since you gave it to me that day a year or two ago because I don't use them, but I needed them because the wraps. I realized when I roll my wraps and they have holes or rip or whatever, it's not smart to wrap it with another small piece of wrap. It's best to just do it with a joint wrapper
Yeah, yeah.
because
And turn
AJ
it
does
into a
that.
spliff. It turns into a spliff, and you can smoke it just as well. Like that's a very New York way of rolling up. a
Yeah.
spliff to put your leaf down on top of your rice, your thin paper, and then your flour. How are y'all rolling up in the chat? What's going on? Thank y'all for tapping in. What up, Key? What up? Who else we got on here?
I can't see.
Living
How
it.
can you see who's in there?
Because I have other programs open. So I have
Okay.
Instagram for me to launch the live. I have Instagram up, and so I'm on my computer.
I can't even see who's on the Instagram. I can see there's 4 people, but it says no names.
Right, right. Oh, okay, man. I think our guest is here. We gonna
And
chit chatted our way to our guest. Let's bring up Caitlein Ryan of the Cannabis. We will bring up Caitlein Ryan of the Cannabis Alliance. Once I get this going. Um, like I said, I'm rolling up that lychee House of
oh
Cultivar
yeah, and let me
flower.
let that incense because they've been
Mm,
tripping. Water.
no, you're
They've been
David. Listen,
all of the above. I'm like I'm gonna just man all the above. Always. I'm
renter.
like
Let's put this out here. Renters in Washington State. My goodness, it is a time. In the meantime, hello. How you doing?
Hello.
How's it
Hello.
going? Thanks for joining us today. You gotta make sure you got earrings on. You know what I mean? That's a lot of
Fell
wind.
out. There you go. We're good.
Yeah. Thanks for hopping on the sesh today.
Yeah. Hey, D'Anthony. How you
Hello.
doing?
Good. How you been?
Good.
Good.
Well, Caitlin, we know you very well, but maybe you can give yourself an introduction to our audience here.
Yes.
Yeah, Caitlin Ryan, I'm the executive director for the Cannabis Alliance. We're the largest industry association here in Washington State. We don't, though, just serve licensees and industry members, but we keep an eye out for patients and consumers. We have lots of initiatives. We've been working on getting home grow here in Washington State. We're one of the only right? We're one of the only states that doesn't have it. And not only that, but it's a Class C felony if you're growing plants without a patient authorization here in Washington State. We also have had some really impressive sustainability initiatives. We've got a new bill that's going to hopefully reduce some of the packaging waste that we're putting into landfills this upcoming year. And then, Lotta, you're working with us on cannabis hospitality
I am.
and social consumption. So that same thing, it's can be up to a Class C felony for smoking a joint if you're not on private property here in Washington State. So
So
while we were
wild
one
to
of
hear
the
that.
first, I know and I think it has to do with we were one of the first states, and so they were super conservative and like what was allowed. But it's 11 years later, and we've changed very little. And meanwhile, a bunch of other states have come online and have shown that like the sky's not falling.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Yeah. So,
Absolutely not.
they out there
And
having fun in other states. Okay,
oh my
they
goodness.
are having a blast.
And what D'Anthony just emphasized with his having to light an incense is that if you live a cannabis consuming lifestyle, it can be hard if you're a renter. So let's just consider the impact on not actually having assets,
yeah.
and
Man,
Well,
ownership.
for everybody, because what that
Mm-hmm.
means, if you're a renter, that's you're going outside or you're sitting in your
Mm-hmm.
car, and we can all play the tape on what that law enforcement action, interaction might look like, which is really scary. Then
hmm
imagine on top of that, you're a patient, and you're relying on cannabis as your medicine, and then that's what you're having to risk just to get your medicine in your body. Um,
So let's okay get into the questions. Dun dun dun.
dun,
As
dun, dun.
always, D'Anthony, do you want to take the lead?
Okay, I take the lead. So, from
Mm-hmm.
your perspective, what is the current state of Washington's cannabis industry?
Um, it's not good. It's in tough shape. The number of licensees is shrinking. We're in a state of consolidation right now. Some of that is expected. However, the rate at which that's happening is really fast, and it's been going on for about a year and a half, and we're now at a place where we have less than 100 producer processors who are putting up numbers. We started with, I mean, and in fairness, like the early numbers were people who didn't even maybe get a crop in the ground, but it was a little over 1,000 when we started, and so to be down to this number is pretty tough. And the people that are still operating are kind of fighting for their lives. Retail stores are also struggling. We've had this race to the bottom with price compression that's made it really difficult for everybody. And now we're at that point where retail stores are also struggling. And we know we've had some sort of economic analyses that only 50% of consumers, only 50% of people who smoke cannabis are buying it from state regulated stores. Yeah, that's it's tough, and a lot of that has to do with convenience. It has to do with pricing. It has to do with that 37% excise tax. Yeah, also the highest in the nation by a lot. And what we need to be doing is continue. Right, we started this experiment to say, hey, let's regulate it. Let's make sure that we are testing it, that people can have safe, reliable product, that they can access at safe points, that patients can have consultation and what medicine works best for them. And by the state not evolving over these 10 years, we have lost a lot of goodwill from patients and consumers of, is this weed actually what you say it is? And if it's not, or it's too expensive, or it's being taxed at after local taxes 47%, my cousin grows pretty good weed. And I can just sort of pick that up next time we have family dinner.
Yes. And this is why I say there may be a revolt on your hands in the terms of this industry, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I always say that here on the Sesh. I'm like, if you don't give the people what they desire, they will find another way to get it.
Yeah.
And this is only 11 years old, this whole experiment, right? So it's not like people have to reinvent the wheel or actually figure out how to get it. They just go back to how they were getting it before.
And you know what? You saying that it's 11 years old just struck something, because it's like, you're like, it's been 11 years and there's been no changes, which is crazy, because if this was a child, you would not treat the child the same way you would treat it the first year as you would treat it the 11th year. They have more freedom to do kind of what they want to do at 11 years old and get dressed. And, Mom, I want a sandwich. You know what I mean? So it's like
100%. I
we
love
should
that
treat the weed
analogy.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that analogy. I'm gonna use that with a couple of legislators and say,
come on.
We have aged up. If you're in a different class, different group, and you got to try.
Yeah. We are almost in junior high now. Okay.
Right. It's time to let us go
grade.
walk to our friend's house by ourselves.
Yeah.
Right.
We should be allowed to do that. Yeah. It's yeah. And instead what has happened is the state actually has found new ways to sort of strangle a little bit more and a little bit more the regulations, instead of their version of refinement has been, how do we get more ways to sort of oversee what's going on in these regulated businesses?
Ooh, okay. All right. So you've hit us with a few things thus far, but what else would you say are the biggest challenges you see operators facing right now, and how can policy address them?
I think very broadly, the biggest challenge we have is actually exactly what we're talking about, is making the mistake of believing that the regulated marketplace, I-502 here in Washington State, is the only cannabis market that exists. By pretending that that is it and that is the only way that people are going to consume cannabis. We talked a little bit about that legacy market and how we're in competition there, but the other piece to it too is hemp-derived products, things that are coming out of the hemp market, particularly consumables here in Washington State. We've tried to sort of say that no consumables you can't produce, or well, you can produce, but you can't sell here in Washington State unless it's in the I-502 system. But I mean, anybody can go on the internet and buy regular old weed. We just call it hemp. And so I think figuring out and understanding that the cannabis plant is one plant, whether you call it cannabis or you call it whatever, we tend to lean towards adult use here in Washington State. It's still the same plant and it still does the same things. And we are all in, from a marketplace perspective, in competition with one another, and we can't regulate that out of it. In terms of trying to clamp down and push it out that way. So like I'm really thinking about that analogy, D'Anthony, about a maturing child. I have teenagers, and my job is to look for reasons to say yes as often as I can. And trust that I've raised them well to make the decisions on their own. And I only step in and say no when I see that like something dangerous or they're about to make a really sort of big mistake. But everything else, they've kind of it's time for them to learn and figure it out on their own.
Yeah.
And that's where we are too. And so when the state comes in and they keep trying to lock it down harder and harder, what happens is folks start coloring outside of the lines in order to survive. And we end up losing consumers to these other marketplaces. So I think there needs to be an understanding of that, a bringing together of the hemp side of things and the adult use side of things closer together, trying to get us more under the same umbrella of regulations. Also, as a function of that, right now in I-502 adult use, we only have one way to bring our weed to market, and that's through regulated cannabis stores. I think we need to find more ways of being able to do that, either through farm direct sales, possibly even limited online sales, direct to consumer. And again, let that marketplace survive, because what's happening is, if you think about it physically like a street fair, we in I-502 adult use regulated market have just a little tiny corner, and the rest of the cannabis marketplace keeps growing and getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and fewer folks are coming by our corner. They're not even getting over to us because there's so many other options out there.
Yeah.
And unless we go
Right.
ahead. No, I'm curious what you were gonna say.
No, I was gonna say we have a little kissing booth, and everybody else. I didn't see them put up rides. They got slides now. There's a water pool. We don't have that yet. We just have a kissing booth.
Right.
100%. That's it.
Yeah. That's it. And that's because that's all we're allowed to have. And I think until we sort of recognize that, we've got to compete. And really that's the thing, is just let us compete. And I believe, especially here in Washington, we've talked about this a good amount. We have the best weed in the country. We have the most selection. We'll be just fine if we're allowed to do that.
We know. We didn't have this conversation for 3 years now. We know.
Letting the world know. And to your point, Caitlein, this is like, at this point, involving global tourism, global economy, right? Cannabis. Like, there's trade between Canada and the EU. You know what I mean? Like, when you start looking at that, our restrictions here as a country, as a state, will only hinder us from that global marketplace, and continue to do so. So you've already shared a bit, but how do you think Washington compares to other legal market in terms of equity, sustainability, and innovation?
That's a really big, tough one. Tough because I do believe that healthy competition is great, but also the only path through this is in concert with other states, and making sure that other states and organizations like the Cannabis Alliance, state-run organizations that are representing licensees and patients, sort of banding together to make sure that we're the ones defining what a national marketplace looks like, rather than a top down. We really want this to be a genuine grassroots, starting with interstate commerce before the federal government puts a green light on anything. And so I don't want to talk too much trash, but like I already said, we have the best product. We already have extremely low prices, which make us competitive. Our prices do need to go up for like the health of our industry, but we're ready to compete. We did this interesting thing where we disallowed out of state ownership early on, and that's still sort of where we're at in Washington State. And while I think there are challenges with that now, 11 years in, early on, what it did was it allowed small businesses to get up and running without sort of big conglomerate competition. Unfortunately, though, as one of the first states to go out, we did not consider social equity at all. And those protections were given only to a certain type of person that looks a certain way. And the majority of our industry, we also had some legislation early on that shut down medical without a big pathway into the regulated market. And medical was a beautiful, diverse group of folks, dispensaries, growers. Um, it was a tight knit community that really served the population, and that was removed when the bill was called 5250, and it shut down that medical place. And so, sort of the worst realized scenario, which was a lot of more corporate interests, primarily white owners, in this new marketplace, got to benefit from that sort of institutional expression of racism. And we're trying to put toothpaste back into the tube, but that's not a thing that you can do. And
Yeah.
so I think there have been some small wins along the way for a few individuals. We're far from addressing sort of the more systemic problem and the impact that that's had.
100%.
Well, I love edibles. Post
Yeah.
that.
What's
Clip
up?
that.
No, as we celebrate those that have made it through the social equity application process here in Washington State, and we've gone to the openings of these shops. Understand, we know that it's not enough, right? It's
Sure.
not enough. Like, you can celebrate what we have and know that more has to come, and you have to show up and demand it. And so, thank you once again for the work that you do.
Yeah, always in concert with other folks. It's never any one of us individually. Um,
Absolutely, absolutely. D'Anthony, where are we at?
Next question.
Yeah.
Okay. What role should the Cannabis Alliance play in shaping policy and bridging the gap between regulators and the community?
I mean, I think that's our number one call to action as the Alliance. It's most of us that are in the Alliance, and frankly, most of us that are doing any kind of cannabis advocacy, didn't start because we're a policy nerd or, because we're a poli sci major or whatever the case is. We have learned along the way because we've had to in order to save our business or to even get a license in the first place or to do our best to make sure it's a fair playing ground. And so the Cannabis Alliance, I think, is charged primarily with sharing what we know, with folks who are on that exact same journey of looking around and being like, wait, my city just changed zoning and they're saying that they can't grandfather me in. My business is going to shut down. What do I do? And then so the Cannabis Alliance, we're here to say, okay, we've got a few folks who've been down this road. Let's talk about it, and let's figure out what we can do. Or a broader issue, a licensee enforcement came in and I don't think this is right. Is that right? And then we can get into the law and then start moving through, okay, here are the 3 people that we need to have meetings with. You know what, actually, let's blow this up a little bit bigger, let more people know what's happening. And then we find out, oh, there's more folks that are going through this. And so we really are that connector of shared community understanding of how to organize and activate so that we can hold the government accountable for what they're doing, but then also imagine when they're not doing something right and that's on the books, how do we change those rules and regulations and laws so that it better reflects the industry we want to see?
Yeah, and if y'all missed that, stop complaining about it. Do something about it.
And we can do it
Please.
together. We can make it
Yeah.
as fun as possible, and be effective too.
100%. I've learned so much in the rooms that I am in now, and I highly recommend you become a member if this industry interests you in any capacity, from patient all the way to licensee, and
Yeah.
business owner. Whew. Okay. This is
Next question. This is my favorite topic.
Yeah. Many feel cannabis and alcohol are treated with very different standards. What would true regulatory parity look like?
I mean, we can all imagine what true regulatory parity looks like. Just think about everywhere alcohol is served. um, Put cannabis in there, put and things like clean air laws, sometimes challenge that concept, but put a tent outside. And or what would it look like to have beverages, low dose cannabis beverages? Painted Rooster is one of our members and a member of the board. Sundaze is
Hmm.
incredible.
We
Two and a
love
half
Sundaze.
milligrams, right?
Hmm.
It's so good.
Yeah.
What if we had that as an option instead of beers? Um, Frankly, and I think this has to participate in some of the decision making that is going on. I'd imagine the alcohol industry would have a really hard time. We're already seeing major decline in sales for the alcohol industry, and I think that would only get worse. I personally don't drink alcohol anymore, and I think all the time, like, why would I? Why
Hmm.
would I, when cannabis is an option? um,
And see, I feel like okay, this is what my where my brain goes to this because I'm on all sides when it comes to it, even their side. If it sounds right, it's right. If it makes sense, it makes sense. So it's like with
mm,
that being said, if we were to have low dose and everything, there is a what do you call a number to where a person can drink and they're still legally able to drive. How would they do that when it comes to cannabis then? Because they're already like, as soon as you inhale it, DUI. You know what I mean? It was like, well, it didn't even
Hmm.
hit me yet. What do you mean? Like, if I was to
Hmm.
yeah.
drink a beer right now, I can get in my car and drive.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you've
Mhm.
identified the other roadblocks to like getting to that parity is that cannabis is not like alcohol, like you just talked about. It hits the body differently. Each endocannabinoid system is different, and so it's really hard to identify a unifying, like, per se. We can't say, like blood alcohol levels, this is where impairment begins.
Hmm.
And so it is a big challenge to know what equals impairment. There are some, really smart people working on it. We've worked with the developers of the Druid app, which is this really cool app that it's got like tests like stand on one foot and touch your head, but it only takes about, I think, 2 minutes to take the test. And what you do is you take the test several times when you haven't consumed any substances, and it works for alcohol, for cannabis, and I think a couple of other things, even fatigue, right? There's all kinds of different ways we drive impaired. And so you norm the test so it knows what your everyday balance looks like, what your everyday response times look like. And then after, say you're at an event, like for me, if I've had some cannabis and I'm not sure if I'm comfortable driving, I can take the test on the app and it'll let me know what level of impaired I'm at. Some states have looked at piloting something like that for people. I do it so that should I have law enforcement interaction, I've got a record that I can say, here, this is, where things are at for me. Because, yeah, here in Washington State, it's a blood test. And even if I had smoked the day before, that could possibly put me over the line, even though I'm experiencing no impairment at all whatsoever. And so it's a problem that needs to be solved. And right now, that's a really political conversation because we do a lot of debate with the prevention community, in which case, some folks there wish that we could go back to cannabis being illegal. They feel it's a failed experiment. And things like impairment then become a political conversation rather than a scientific conversation, because all cannabis is bad, right? I don't know if you knew. Um, so that is a roadblock we got to figure out.
Man.
I'm keeping myself a little muted over here because the sprinklers are on. So let me know if it's bothering.
No, but
Oh,
I heard a bird earlier and he's not singing anymore.
Oh, okay.
He was loud too. I was like,
Hold on. I love nature. Thank you for that answer, Caitlin. I consider it often mm, like how much I would probably enjoy going out more now as an adult and a person that only consumes cannabis if I had places to meet with other folks that consume cannabis. The
and see,
safe
this
spaces
brings
is their home. So I'm not outside like that.
right.
it back to earlier this year. Me and Lotta have had this conversation multiple times. I have been traveling more musically and touring and stuff, and I've been to states where it's not legal there, but But wait a minute, they have dispensaries still. You can smoke in every single club and damn near establishment that you're in, and it's okay. And I think
Hmm.
that's so weird because they allow it. They make it known that you can do that here. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So I'm like, we need to figure something out because it's just not there. Because I even called Lotta one time and walked into a dispensary that was a bar and they were serving drinks. I called her as soon as I walked in because I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. This is illegal. But it was
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
It's
It was okay.
I
it
say to
was
people all the time that while it's technically legal here in Washington state, we still operate under prohibition. And one of the most wild things about prohibition and the legalization adult use here in Washington state is that in a lot of ways we recriminalized cannabis. We did not, like, there are lanes where it got more illegal to consume cannabis and to just be a stoner or a patient. After I-502 was passed than it was prior to. And I think that you're seeing that in other states where it's still illegal, but there's a community understanding of what's acceptable in a way that actually lets you to move, allows you to move more freely than we get to here in Washington.
Yeah.
absolutely. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. And I just that wholeheartedly is my concern with any federal legalization efforts.
Hmm.
If you look what has occurred state upon state and by systems that they've created, not necessarily us, you find that they're not effective because there's a level of criminality to the entire business experience that you don't see in dang near any other industry.
Hmm.
And if that could end, I could trust you. I could entrust you to legalize this plant, but I don't want that to still exist on a federal level for a plant.
Hmm.
And so just let it go. Just decriminalize it. Don't touch it. Let me have it. Let me
Yeah.
be able to grow it for me, just like I can grow tomatoes for me. You know, like just
Flowers.
for me. Like,
Yeah.
I, please leave it alone right now because goodness me, oh my. Okay, we got a couple more questions for you.
Oh yes.
Ooh, all
Number
right.
6.
Mm. Rumor has it the LCB may face a state audit this year. Do you believe that's necessary? And what could it reveal about our regulatory body?
Yeah, it's necessary. They should be audited all the time. For those people that want to take a look at it, I would love for them to take a look at it. It is not a healthy organization. It is, a lot of people want to talk about corruption. I sort of always say, we don't need to chalk up to corruption what can be explained by ineptitude. And I think they're just ill-equipped to regulate cannabis. They were a tax collection agency and for alcohol. They weren't regulating how alcohol is made. They're not regulating anything other than making sure that those taxes are being collected. And so then to give them a whole brand new industry where there were no other states that had models to follow and expect that an agency of police officers and tax collectors could figure out one of the most complex new policy puzzles of our generation, previous generations, and generations following, um, was frankly irresponsible, dare I say it. And what is more irresponsible is now 10 years later, we have example upon example upon example of how ill equipped LCB is to regulate the entire cannabis industry. And so to pretend that what's happening isn't happening is costing the state of Washington. I don't even know how many dollars they have paid out in lawsuits over the years, how many dollars are currently on the line for the number of lawsuits that they are fighting and are probably going to lose, let alone just the general inefficiencies, again, of people who don't know what they're doing, trying to figure it out 11 years in and making us all pay for their learning process. It feels really frustrating. And so, yeah, the more people looking at it, the better.
Yes. Come on.
Mm, my goodness, you better let them know. Hold on, get your sound effect going. I couldn't get it off, man. I could. Ugh. All right, my goodness. Thank you, Caitlein. That was a well-deserved read of the WS LCB here. in Washington State.
Yeah.
It was.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
Get them.
yeah.
And that's not to say, I'll say this because I do work with them. There are folks there that are trying, and so the indictment of the agency isn't necessarily always an indictment of individuals. But until there's like actual movement, I have to sort of keep that agency in check a little bit and say, even if you are working towards that change, it's not happening fast enough, and people are going out of business. People aren't getting licenses in a timely fashion. There's real harm being done to people because this agency can't seem to like get its act together.
My goodness. All right. Woo. Yeah. All right. Here you go. Here you go. If you could change one policy, or regulation tomorrow, right? Because there's a difference. To strengthen our market, what would it be and why?
I think the answer falls on, it follows the question that you just asked. We are working on an LCB restructuring bill, and it would be that LCB needs to be completely restructured. There's lots of really incredible things that would have big impacts. The things that I have mentioned: sustainability, patient access, social consumption, home grow. All of those things would have a really big impact, but none of them will be executed well as long as LCB is in charge of writing the rules to let those things exist. And until LCB has gotten an overhaul and how the enforcement works, how the rulemaking works, and the decision making, so that there's greater accountability, I feel like we can expect that any gain we make is going to be the success of it is going to be tempered simply by the fact that it has to move through that agency before it gets implemented.
Good. Okay.
Okay. Let's get to these comments before we get out of here because we closing out strong. M's, several M's. Someone said free us. Amen.
Man.
Okay, I think you took them to church on this Sunday.
Get us free.
With that read.
Yeah.
My goodness. Ken Lou said LCB should be more grown by now too. Then, right? Like they should be.
Excellent.
All right, let me get out of these comments before we get any more trouble, please. Don't ban us. In fact, like, subscribe, and follow if you like what you're hearing today on Sesh Sunday.
Please.
It's been a great Sunday. I think
Yes.
I've been dying to get it out there, like what's happening, and I do it every week, but I can only share to the level that my frustration will allow. There's a certain point where I have to, yeah. So I appreciate your calm and your poise and your just straight steadfastness in what we need to do to have a better marketplace, for all of us. And if you are liking what you're hearing here today, please, yes, not only join the Cannabis Alliance, but like donate. You know what I mean? Like just tap in, support in every way possible. Write a letter. You know what I mean? Like your voice matters. We are stronger together.
Always. And I think like this moment in time, right, we're all feeling called to get involved, try and double down on community, but it's also hard. Like, how do we know where to plug in? And I always, I reflect a lot on sort of that, when you look around and you feel the need to do something, you focus on that little corner, the thread that you can pull to make a difference. And if you're already engaged in cannabis, like this is a really great way to not just engage on cannabis, but also learn more about the system and how it works. And that can be applied to all of the lanes beyond cannabis as well. How do you get involved and make real impact in the world around us?
Thank you so much. And that was honestly our last question for you. Like,
Oh.
how can everyday workers and consumers get more involved in advocacy and push for a healthier industry? And you've told them right there. Find your thread. Find your thread.
Find your thread. And if cannabis is it, like you said, come find. We've got an excellent website. Join our newsletter if you just want to, if nothing else, hear more about the events that we're going to, the initiatives that we're working on. We have calls to action. Once the legislature starts, we'll send out emails every so often. Here, email your legislators. Here's how you do that. 2 clicks and you're done. And then other ways like our lobby day we've got coming up. If you actually want to go and learn how to have a meeting with the legislator as his constituent, let them know what's on your mind. We'll show you how to do that. We'll take care of that. You just got to sign up and show up.
And
and
make
then
it easy for you.
and make it easy. And then also, I feel emboldened to stand up because I've got everybody around me. And so it becomes less scary to speak up about your experience and the things that you need from your government if you've got people standing around you all saying the same thing together. And so we provide a place too where folks can come together and share in the safety of numbers.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we say that coming off a board retreat of tooling
That's
in
right.
and making the alliance better for another 10 years to come. So anybody else in the comments got questions for our wonderful guests here today before we get about
Well, I got something to say. Caitlein, make sure after this, though, when you go talk to them people, show them how to raise the baby. Or
Yes.
it's not even a baby no more. Show them how to. The child is not a baby no more. Okay, they need new
No, this
shoes.
is a preteen. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. They need band-aids. They're gonna be playing outside a little bit now on their own.
Like,
Yep.
give us the freedom we deserve at this point in time. We are the experts in ourselves. Trust us.
Yes, we are.
We want it to work.
We want it to work. And not only that, we've been really good stewards. Like, unusually, we are an industry that has said, no, we would like better sustainability regulations. No, we would like to make sure that there are better safety measures around pesticides and testing. We want patients to know that their product is clean. I talk to other people in other industries and they're like, why are you doing that? It's like, because we actually care deeply that this works, and it works in a way that still has people at the center of it. And we want our regulations to reflect that as well.
I had a friend who moved into town, and where they're from, cannabis is not legal. And they told me they went to the dispensary, and he was like, I was so irritated. He's like, 'cause you guys are so, he's like, you guys just know too much about weed and care so much. He's like, I just want to smoke. I'm like, no, but we need more of that, though. I'm like, that education needs to be there because I'm like, people do just want to smoke, but what are you smoking? What are you smoking it for? What is it doing to you? You need to know that stuff. And when I broke it down like that, he was like, I never thought of it like that. I'm like, yeah, people from other places just want to smoke, but what are you smoking? Do you know?
Most of the time they don't.
Most of the time they don't.
Legal.
And one of my favorite things is to have a relationship with somebody like that and then start introducing them and be like, here, try this 16% THC weed. See how that, does you. Here, try this. And, oh, you felt too sleepy there. Here, try this. And then folks are like, oh, shit, it's not all created equal. And it's not all created. And what's good for my friend may not be good for me. And it's kind of a magical journey to watch when people start figuring out like what their jam is. And yeah.
And that to us is the Bakersman lifestyle. We've been talking to you about Great Smoke in Washington State for a few years now. Liking the conversation. Continue to follow us. We are on Twitch, YouTube, and Instagram regularly. And more importantly, if you are liking the work that we believe in, join us over at the Cannabis Alliance. You know what I mean?
Yes, please.
Oh my goodness. Appreciate it. Matter of fact, let's get on out of here. Special thanks to y'all for tuning in and being here with us each and every week. Stay baked, y'all.
Thank you. Stay baked.